The greatest demons are not merely figures of malice. They are cultural archaeologists. They are living historical documents, preserving the fears, the taboos, and the shifting spiritual landscapes of thousands of years. They are not static entities. They evolve. And few demons encapsulate this terrifying shape-shifting complexity quite like the king of the Goetia, Asmodeus. He is a creature of terrifying contradictions. He is a demon of wrath, yet he rules over lust and gambling. He is an ancient Persian spirit of fury, yet he is bound by a ritual fish liver in the Jewish Apocrypha. He is the master of sorcerers, yet he was allegedly responsible for possessing holy nuns in 17th century France. To trace the history of Asmodeus is not just to trace the lineage of a demon. It is to perform a philological archaeology on the roots of Western occultism itself, tracing its path from the arid highlands of Zoroastrian Persia to the smoky chambers of the Renaissance magician. We must understand this fundamental truth. The story of Asmodeus is the story of how evil is codified, how fear is packaged, and how the ancient war between light and darkness, the foundation of all Western esotericism, plays out in a single terrifying name. To truly understand Asmodeus, we must discard the image of the suave, modern tempter and travel 2,500 years back to the heart of the ancient Persian Empire. Here, in the fierce, dualistic worldview of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest expressions of cosmic warfare, we find his primordial purest form, Aeshma, or Aeshma-Daeva. This is a foundational cosmology, built on the struggle between the supreme wise lord, Ahura Mazda, and his eternal destructive adversary, Angra Mainyu. This cosmic rift, this deep dualism, is the wellspring that later fed the Gnostic vision of the demiurge and the archons. Aeshma, within this terrifying host of destructive spirits, the Devas, stood as the very personification of wrath, rage, and frenzy. He was not an abstract concept. He was the literal spirit of unbridled destructive fury that leads men to murder, to war, and to the immediate destruction of the righteous order. He is depicted carrying a bloody mace, symbolizing the sudden, brutal impact of his rage upon the world. Aeshma's purpose was pure chaos. The demon who appears millennia later, seducing men to lust and gambling, is still operating under the ancient mandate of chaos. Lust and gambling are not merely vices. They are acts of reckless, self-destructive frenzy that lead to social ruin, thus fulfilling the mission of Aeshma-Daeva, the furious destroyer of order. As the Persian Empire expanded its ideological reach, its radical dualistic concepts began to filter into the Jewish communities of the Second Temple period. This cultural syncretism, the blending of powerful spiritual traditions, is the crucible where Aeshma-Daeva was imported and dramatically reimagined. The fierce Persian spirit of war and frenzy had to be domesticated, or perhaps specialized, to fit the specific moral and domestic concerns of the Jewish community. This is where Asmodeus, as we recognize him, truly begins his transformation. His first definitive appearance under a recognizable name is in the Book of Tobit, an apocryphal text. Here, Asmodeus. Crucially, his domain shifts entirely. He is no longer defined primarily by the bloody mace of war, but by a chilling, intimate terror. He is the demon who kills the husbands of Sarah. The narrative is simple but deeply unsettling. Sarah has been married 7 times, but Asmodeus has killed each husband on their wedding night before the marriage could be consummated. Was his motive lust, jealousy, or was it still fundamentally Aeshma's ancient purpose? To spread chaos by systematically destroying the most sacred of social bonds. This specialization marks a critical evolution. The macrocosmic destroyer is now the microcosmic wrecker of the Jewish household. The Book of Tobit also introduces the counteragent that defines much of the subsequent magical tradition. The Archangel Raphael. Raphael instructs Tobiah on the exact material ritual required to banish the demon, the burning of the heart and liver of a sacred fish. This detail, the ritual use of material substances, is a crucial bridge to all later Western esotericism. It emphasizes that Asmodeus, despite his power, is a high-ranking spirit bound by the material realm and amenable to precise ritual control. The stench of the burning fish liver acts as a spiritual irritant, forcing Asmodeus to flee to the uttermost parts of Egypt, where Raphael finally binds him. This transformation took Asmodeus out of the realm of pure theological abstraction and placed him squarely into the realm of practical demonology, a formidable enemy who could be known, feared, and most importantly, mastered through Gnosis and ritual. The transformation of Asmodeus from the domestic pest of Tobit to a universal source of human depravity culminates in the crucial early magical text known as the Testament of Solomon. This apocryphal work is a foundational piece of Western magical literature. In this text, Asmodeus is not a peripheral figure, he is the undisputed star, a demon king. Solomon, using a magical ring endowed with divine authority, binds Asmodeus and commands him to reveal his true nature, powers, and most importantly, his vulnerabilities. This spiritual interrogation provides the magus with the essential intelligence needed for control. When questioned, Asmodeus provides a chilling and expansive list of his activities, solidifying his identity as a comprehensive force of human vice. He proudly claims responsibility for the chaos wrought by lust and infidelity. He reclaims his ancient Aeshma heritage, declaring his role in inducing fits of irrational rage and madness. And he professes a deep philosophical hatred for chastity and modesty, stating that his primary goal is to ensure human beings never experience the joy of a good, virtuous relationship. But the Testament is a manual of power, not just a catalog of evil. Asmodeus reveals that the primary obstacles to his power are the invocation of the Archangel Raphael and the burning of the gall of fish. This detailed first-person confession is a pivotal moment in demonology. It elevates Asmodeus to a supreme rank. He is the master of human vice, commanding the entire spiritual vector of self-destruction and social decay. This chilling portrayal cements his reputation as a powerful, cunning, and dangerous intellect, requiring divine assistance and specialized knowledge, true Gnosis, to subdue. The Testament essentially establishes the definitive template for all subsequent Solomonic magic. Demons, even kings, can be summoned, questioned, and compelled to labor for the magician. As Asmodeus transitioned from the ancient magical world into the realm of organized medieval and early modern Christian demonology, his identity was further formalized and weaponized. The Church adopted the catalog of spirits found in texts like the Testament of Solomon and integrated them into its formal doctrine of possession and exorcism. In the Christian context, Asmodeus, like all pagan spirits, was recast as a fallen angel, a high-ranking member of the demonic hierarchy. He was often placed in charge of the sin of lust in the context of the 7 deadly sins. By the Renaissance, his profile was clear. He was a king, commanding a multitude of legions associated with gambling, lust, extravagance, and deception. No event cemented Asmodeus's profile in the popular European consciousness more than the infamous mass possession of the nuns of Loudun in 1634 France. This case was a spectacular collision of politics, religion, and hysteria, and it placed Asmodeus squarely in the center of Christian terror. Father Urban Grandier was accused of making a pact with the devil and causing the possession. During the highly public and dramatic exorcisms, the possessing demons identified themselves as various high-ranking members of the infernal court, and Asmodeus was one of the principal demons named. His confession, extracted under duress, focused intensely on the sexual nature of the transgression. His presence in the convent, a place of supposed purity, was proof of his primary function: to corrupt and destroy the vows of abstinence and piety. Grandier was burned at the stake, but the events ensured that Asmodeus's name became synonymous not just with private sin, but with state-level spiritual terror and the catastrophic consequences of the occult pact. The transition from the fevered possession narratives of the 17th century to the precise ritualistic approach of the Goetia, the first section of the Lesser Key of Solomon, is the final and most enduring transformation in the demon's history. The purpose of this book is not exorcism or condemnation, but magical control. The magus is meant to summon the demon, force it to appear within a protective triangle, and compel it, using divine names and ritual implements, to perform various tasks. In the Goetia, the demons are assigned specific ranks and numbers. Asmodeus is typically ranked as the 32nd spirit and is given the title of king, placing him at the highest echelon of the Goetic hierarchy, demanding immense respect and caution during the ritual. His description in the Ars Goetia is often wild and composite, reflecting his syncretic history. He is frequently depicted with a composite form: 3 heads, a bull, a man, and a ram, the feet of a goose, and riding a dragon. This bizarre iconography is a visual representation of his journey across cultures. His assigned duties are specific and valuable to the Renaissance magus. He grants invisibility, teaches mathematics and geometry, revealing the structure of the cosmos, and reveals the locations of hidden treasures. But the Goetia issues a profound warning. Asmodeus is described as being exceptionally volatile and aggressive, requiring the magician to perform the ritual while wearing a special hat or headdress, specifically out of fear of his fiery breath. The ancient Zoroastrian Wrath still burns within the king of the Goetia. He is the highest spiritual authority of destruction, but he is a fire that must be controlled with meticulous ritual practice and precise knowledge. The 19th and 20th centuries ushered in the esoteric revival, driven by figures like Aleister Crowley. In this new, highly psychological and philosophical context, Asmodeus underwent his final, most radical transformation. From a literal external demon to a psychological force and a symbol of self-sovereignty. This transformation is crucial for understanding the neo-Gnostic appeal. Aleister Crowley, a central figure in modern occultism, often reinterpreted the 72 demons not as literal external entities but as components of the human psyche. This psychological interpretation, drawing on ideas like Jungian archetypes, allowed practitioners to engage with the demons as internal obstacles, or latent powers, much like the Gnostics psychologized the archons as inner complexes. In this view, Asmodeus ceases to be the cause of lust and madness, and becomes the personification of those destructive impulses within the magician's mind. Summoning him is equivalent to performing a Jungian individuation, a ritual confrontation with the dark, overwhelming aspects of the shadow self. His power must be mastered and integrated, not simply condemned. This shift made Asmodeus exceptionally appealing to traditions that prioritize self-deification and the dismantling of conventional morality, particularly the left-hand path, LHP. For modern LHP practitioners, Asmodeus is revered as an icon of intellectual mastery and the celebration of unfettered desire, rejecting the ascetic denial preached by the demiurge-like structures of traditional religion. His connection to gambling is reinterpreted as the courage to embrace risk and high stakes, essential for personal transformation. In this context, Asmodeus is not an adversary to be feared, but a spiritual mentor who guides the self-sovereign individual toward mastery over their own passions and the acquisition of material and intellectual power. The story of Asmodeus is a masterful lesson in cultural syncretism and the fluid nature of spiritual reality. He is a perfect example of what academics call a cultural palimpsest, a manuscript where one text has been scraped off and written over, yet the traces of the original script remain visible beneath the new layer. His identity is not one, but multiple, each layer revealing a different human fear and theological challenge. He is the primal dualistic wrath of ancient Persia. He is the domestic personal destroyer obsessed with jealousy and lust. He is the king who is bound. He is the literal agent of possession and corruption. And finally, he is the archetype of forbidden desire and self-mastery. His journey underscores the complexity of Western esotericism. Ideas are never static. They are exchanged, specialized, and often reversed to fit new spiritual needs. Ultimately, the demon's enduring power lies in his ability to embody the most chaotic and self-destructive aspects of the human condition. By tracing Asmodeus's history, we gain not just an understanding of demonology, but a profound insight into the human psychological landscape and the religious anxieties of the last 3 millennia. He began as a storm of pure external rage. He ends as a mirror, reflecting the internal chaos we must confront and master to achieve spiritual or psychological liberation. The study of the demon is the study of the self. If you wish to explore the true origins of the esoteric tradition, you must be willing to confront the monsters that forged it. Do not fear the history of the demon. Understand the history of the fear. To continue your journey into the obscured corners of spiritual history, ensure you are subscribed and have the notification bell activated. We delve beyond the sermons and the surface texts, directly into the source material that shaped the entire Western mystery tradition. If this analysis of Asmodeus revealed a new layer of hidden knowledge, share this video. For to share the knowledge is the first act of true spiritual rebellion. And if you have a demon you believe to be the greatest palimpsest of all, let me know its name in the comments below.